Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl who loved wearing a red cape with a hood. Her grandmother had made it for her, and she wore it everywhere. Everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother called her and said, "Little Red Riding Hood, your grandmother is feeling sick. Please take this basket of food to her. It has bread, butter, and some treats to help her feel better." Little Red Riding Hood nodded. "Yes, Mother. I'll go right away." Her mother warned her, "Stay on the path, and don't talk to strangers." Little Red Riding Hood promised, "I will be careful." Then, she set off through the woods, carrying the basket. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. The woods were quiet and peaceful, and she felt happy as she walked. But Little Red Riding Hood wasn't alone. In the woods lived a big, bad wolf. He was hungry and always looking for food. When he saw Little Red Riding Hood, he thought, "That girl looks tasty. I will trick her and eat her up." The wolf stepped out from behind a tree. "Good morning, little girl," he said with a sly smile. "Where are you going on this fine day?" Little Red Riding Hood forgot her mother's warning and stopped to talk. "I'm going to visit my grandmother. She's sick, and I'm bringing her food." "Oh, how kind of you," said the wolf. "Where does your grandmother live?" "She lives in the little house at the end of the path," said Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf's eyes gleamed. "I see. Well, have a nice walk," he said, and then he ran off into the woods. The wolf was clever and fast. He knew the woods better than anyone and reached the grandmother's house before Little Red Riding Hood. He knocked on the door. "Who is it?" called the grandmother. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf, trying to sound like her. "Oh, come in, dear," said the grandmother. The wolf opened the door, jumped inside, and scared the grandmother. She screamed, but the wolf quickly locked her in the closet. Then, he put on her nightgown, glasses, and cap and climbed into her bed. He pulled the blanket up to his chin and waited. Soon, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at the house. She knocked on the door. "Who is it?" asked the wolf, trying to sound like the grandmother. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood," she said. "I brought you some food." "Come in, dear," said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood opened the door and stepped inside. She saw her grandmother in bed, but something didn't look right. "Grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you with, my dear." "Grandmother, what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with," shouted the wolf. The wolf jumped out of the bed and lunged at Little Red Riding Hood. She screamed and tried to run, but the wolf blocked her path. Just then, a woodcutter was walking nearby. He heard the scream and ran to the house. The woodcutter burst through the door and saw the wolf about to catch Little Red Riding Hood. With his axe, He scared the wolf away. The wolf ran out of the house and into the woods, never to be seen again. Little Red Riding Hood hugged the woodcutter. "Thank you for saving me," she said. The woodcutter opened the closet and found the grandmother. She was so happy to be free. "Oh, my dear granddaughter," she said, hugging Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood learned an important lesson that day. She promised her grandmother and mother, "I will never talk to strangers again, and I will always stay on the path." From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood was more careful, and she always remembered the brave woodcutter who saved her. And they all lived happily ever after.